Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Sunday, February 23rd. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and you look at the card today and you think, is this Sunday? Mike, if I got the right day of the week? Yes, you do. There's actually 10 NHL games on a Sunday, and it is a beautiful thing. And get used to this the rest of the way with the football season over. There's going to be a lot more games on Sundays, and we've got a 10 spot of NHL games taking place today, games all afternoon, throughout the evening. Looking forward to breaking those down. But before we break those down, we got to look back on yesterday. And what a return to the NHL it was from a betting standpoint. The only thing I can say is it was a massive day for me, but relatively speaking it was, because I did keep everything smaller units yesterday. But from a ROI standpoint, the ROI was through the fucking roof. What an unbelievable day. Majority of the underdogs that I liked, that I bet, came through for us. The exception of a couple of the ones later in the night, like Utah, unfortunately fell a bit short. Vancouver, although that was a smaller bet. But what a day in the NHL. And we kind of gave you that foreshadowing on the show yesterday that don't be laying big prices with the favorites today in the NHL. This is a dog kind of day. There's going to be some really good spots for some live underdogs. And boy, we saw that on full display. The day started with a pretty brutal loss for Detroit. I mean, they had a 3-1 lead to Minnesota. Every point is valuable for them as they try to make this push for the playoffs. But Minnesota comes back, ties it late, and then wins it in overtime after Detroit had a power play where they were just guilty of overpassing, which we unfortunately see too much of these days in the NHL. And Minnesota goes down the ice and they win it 4-3 in overtime. Great comeback win from Minnesota's standpoint, but a very, very bitter missed out opportunity and losing out on the second point by the Detroit Red Wings. You got to be able to bring home a 3-1. I don't care who you're playing. When you're up 3-1 at home and you're trying to make the playoffs, you got to close that game out. And the Detroit Red Wings weren't able to do that. Philly got the day started for me as far as the bigger underdogs that came through. Philadelphia plus 170 as they take it to the Edmonton Oilers. And boy, did Edmonton look bad defensively. Turnovers, mistakes galore. They look like whatever Connor McDavid's hangover was following the Four Nations, I think it infected the entire team. They were terrible yesterday defensively, the Edmonton Oilers. And credit to the Philadelphia Flyers for taking advantage of that. And they get a big-time victory against the Edmonton Oilers yesterday, and a big underdog winner for yours truly there to get the underdog party started on the Saturday slate yesterday. But we warned you, Edmonton wasn't exactly in a spot where I trusted them as a road favorite there. And Philly gets it done 6-3. We had the first period over. I know Alex did as well. That cashed easily as well. I'll tell you what, the Washington Capitals, they didn't even play that well for the first half of the game. Pittsburgh was all over them, in fact. And if not for Logan Thompson, and if not for their penalty kill coming up large a couple of times, that could have been a different result. But every single damn mistake that Pittsburgh made defensively was in the back of the net. Washington put it in the net and made them pay for it. And when Pittsburgh did have a defensive breakdown, man, was it bad. It was like odd man rushes, just letting people get behind them, just not tracking the puck well enough, just coverage breakdowns galore. And Washington made them pay over and over again for that. You know what's a great sign for Washington? That was like their C- game. They still win 8-3 and pound the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they pulled away, obviously, with that outburst in the second period, where it went from 2-2 to 6-2 in the blink of an eye. Jacob Chikrin, what an unbelievable offseason ad that has turned out to be. Absolutely amazing game for him, amazing season for him. Protas continues to get the job done offensively. Tom Wilson continues to get the job done offensively. You know what's a great sign for Ethan Frank, the rookie, gets them going. First goal of the game. 8-3. They didn't even play their best, and Alex Ovechkin didn't even have a single point in the victory yesterday, the grade 8, and they still won 8-3. You talk about a team that is, I mean, I don't know what more to say. I mean, I still am hearing on February 23rd, I'm still hearing people skeptical skeptics regarding this Washington Capitals team. I really don't know what more they have to prove right now at this point with the run that they continue to put together. And 8-3 when they didn't even play close to their A game. Very impressive. Speaking of teams that didn't play close to their A game, the New York Rangers yesterday, they get absolutely thumped by the Buffalo Sabres, 8-2. That game was over after the first. Well, I shouldn't say it was over because it did get to 5-2. And even in our group chat, we were saying, do we live bet the Rangers now? Because we have seen Buffalo kind of spit the bit before. But nevertheless, no, Buffalo got it back on the tracks, and they roared away to victory, 8-2 in that game. Just a dominant effort. They lit up Igor Shesterkin. Look, Igor Shesterkin, man, if you get the big bucks, you got to play better than that. Look, they didn't make it easy on him. They were terrible defensively too, but there's a couple of those goals. I'd like to see a goalie of Igor Shesterkin's caliber make that save. Simple as that in that game before he got pulled for Jonathan Quick. It was just all Buffalo yesterday. Thompson with a couple of goals, 3 points for Tage Thompson. Huge day. We kind of hinted at that with the snub of the Four Nations team with Team USA that he'd have a big day, and he certainly did that for the Buffalo Sabres. Dahlin had a couple of goals. It was just a nightmarish performance for the New York Rangers as they get dummied. But the big headline from that game was what happened to poor Rob Ray in between the benches. Takes a puck off the in the head, doing the broadcast there with Danny Dunleavy on the Sabres broadcast, and fuck, you could just hear that on the broadcast. That was just, hey, what else is he going to say, man? You don't expect it. It hurts when it happens. You know, when you get hit in the schnoz like that or in the forehead area with a puck, how the hell do you expect him to react?
Right.
You got to. If I'm MSG Network, you lay off Rob Ray and stop. Don't give him any grief for letting an F-bomb out on the air. What was he supposed to say in a moment like that? But crazy moment, pretty funny, Alex, seeing that.
Yeah, that's one of that we'll be seeing that on a blooper reel probably for a while. But and the fact that it's the second time in 2 years, 2.5 years where he gets hit in the face too in that spot, you wonder maybe they should have a little protection there. Maybe he needs a helmet again. But yeah, that's a funny moment. Like you said, that's the natural thing to say when you get hit in the face with the hockey puck. I think all of us would probably say the exact same word.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt that was a viral moment there for Rob Ray. I know it was all over Twitter actually yesterday. Dallas, very good workmanlike road win against New Jersey, 4-2. Thomas Harley takes more confidence from the Four Nations tournament. He got on the board with a goal in the first period. Jack Hughes had a great game. You got to give him credit. He didn't have a great tournament, but certainly had a great game yesterday. But Dallas found a way, 4-2. I know a lot of people loved the Matt Duchene goal prop. He got on the board for Dallas in the third period. So a nice 4-2 win there for the Stars. You know, I'm not a big Nashville fan, but I said this is a good spot here. Colorado, with a lot of their players coming off the Four Nations. Nashville gets a 2-1 win over the Colorado Avalanche there in that one. Best bet, I felt really good about it. I felt they were very live, and they rewarded me. The Seattle Kraken, Alex had Seattle, plus 210 against Florida. Just a great bet, great price, and nice to see them hang on at the end for the 2-1 win. Joey Decord made some big-time saves late in the third period as well to preserve that 2-1 victory for the Seattle Kraken. It was surprising. We actually thought maybe Bennett and Reinhart would be out, but they both played. It was only Matthew Tkachuk that was not in the lineup yesterday for the Florida Panthers. But nevertheless, Seattle still gets the victory there, 2-1. Big dog cashes there. Another big dog hits for me with Anaheim, who blew a 2-0 lead. Boston tied it late, went to overtime, and then Leo Carlsson with the overtime winner to give the Ducks a 3-2 win over the Bruins. I guess the biggest news, though, from this game, injury to John Gibson, and this is significant because if he's going to miss time, significant time, this is a guy they're looking to trade. You know, Anaheim is, I think, finally ready to pull the trigger on a John Gibson trade before this year's deadline, but no one's going to be trading for him if he's injured. So this is going to be something to watch for, how long an absence this might be for John Gibson. Lukas Dostal ended up taking over for John Gibson and was pretty solid in net after that. And Anaheim gets a 3-2 win over the Boston Bruins. Yes, and again, another team we kind of pegged to be in a tough spot there, coming off the Four Nations break. Boston, that is. No McAvoy either on the blue line. Couple of blue liners out, and Anaheim gets the job done. A miracle winner, I guess you could say, because it wasn't looking good when it was 2-2 with less than 5 minutes left in the third period. Winnipeg, St. Louis over. But boy, oh boy, we all of a sudden had some late chaos Buchnevich on the power play gives St. Louis a 3-2 lead with under 3 minutes left. And then Gabe Vilardi ties it for the Winnipeg Jets 3-3 in the final minute to send that game over the total. That was Alex's best bet. And then the Jets get the victory in a shootout over the St. Louis Blues and get the 4-3 win in that one. So didn't look good, that over with about 5 minutes left, but the late goals got us there with the over, which of course I had that, but Alex had that as his best bet on the show yesterday. So great to see that obviously come through. And talk about how, you've kind of give up on it, and then you check the score 30 minutes later and bam, whoa, I cashed.
Right. Yeah. I'm looking through, I'm watching multiple games, and I didn't really check in on that when I'm seeing that it's, fairly, kind of low scoring, kind of a tight battle. And I see it's 3-2 and it's like, 15 seconds left on the little ticker that I had. So I'm like, okay, this game's over. And I'm flipping through watching something else. And all of a sudden I look at my phone again, and all of a sudden, about 25 minutes later, 4-3 shootout win. So I'm like, okay, wonderful. I'll take that any day, especially when you already have an winning day.
No doubt. That was great. Great to see that one come through for another big dog on the board barking. Montreal, well, this wasn't a big dog. They were only plus 130, but still 5-2. They get the job done against the Ottawa Senators. It was great for very entertaining game, especially first period. 5 goals. Gallagher, Caulfield, Lyonnais all find the back of the net for the Montreal Canadiens early in the game. We're going to start paying attention to Jake Sanderson props too, because he was an offensive difference maker for Team USA, and he scores for Ottawa last night. His offensive game is heating up again from the blue line for the Ottawa Senators. But then Montreal is able to keep Ottawa off the scoreboard in the last 2 periods, and they end up getting a 5-2 win over the Ottawa Senators. It was a very important game for Montreal, too. It's not just that Brady Tkachuk didn't play. They had some guys banged up. That was part of the handicap, why I like Montreal. Another part of it was they needed the 2 points. Like, if they want to get back into the wild card race in the East, Ottawa's a team they have to catch. Ottawa's a team they have to track down. So you can't be dropping points to a team that's ahead of you in the standings. So it was a very, very important game for Montreal, and they get the important 2 points they need to at least try to keep themselves afloat as far as the wild card race is concerned, and the 5-2 win over Ottawa there. Columbus 5-1 against Chicago. Not many things didn't go well, yesterday, but one of the few things that didn't go well was Chicago first period over, man. Old Reliable kind of let us down yesterday, as it was 1-0 after the first period. But Chicago goal got taken away. I should say that as well in that opening period. I think it was the right call, but yeah, you're always disappointed about that when it's taken the first period over. Still, what is it now? 19-4 in the last 23 games, even after yesterday. What's good is that the full game over pushed 5-1, and I got Columbus team total over 3.5 in the 5-1 win for the Jackets. I mean, Fantilli had a great game. They get Marchenko and Jenner back, but Zach Werenski, man, what a fucking game again for this guy. 2 assists, 1 goal, 3 points. How he is not the front runner, he's got to be for the Norris right now, the way he's played this year for the Columbus Blue Jackets. And we're starting to see now, with he's healthy, he's consistently worked at his game, gotten better, and what a season he is having for the Jackets, without a doubt. Toronto, what a crazy start. Like, everything Toronto shot at Pyotr Kochetkov early in that game went in, and it was 4-0 before you could blink in that game. But then all of a sudden, Toronto did a great job shutting things down for the majority of that game. But Carolina finally breaks the shutout, gets it to 4-1. And Brind'Amour did the right thing here. He pulled Kochetkov with like 5.5 minutes left, down 4-1. Let's try to chip away, get one, pull the goalie again, because it's essentially giving yourself multiple power plays in a row when you do that. They got it to 4-2. Slavin, he continues to play good hockey. He got it to 4-3, but then Austin Matthews finally slammed the door shut with the empty netter, 5-3. But coaches are doing that now. Down 4-1, pull the goalie early. You're going to lose anyway. Give yourself a chance to get a goal. Give yourself time after getting that first goal to pull the goalie and try to get another one. That's the approach we're seeing, definitely, with a lot of the coaches, and we saw that from Brind'Amour. But you just Valiant effort by Carolina to battle back, but you can't dig yourself a 4-0 hole against good teams and expect to win. Toronto wins 6-3 there. LA 5-3 against Utah. I know Jonathan Davis was in the house there at Crypto for that game. Back and forth game it was. It did get the Utah team total over, but money line falls short. Kings get the 5-3 win there. And I'll tell you what, this was a crazy game where it could have been 4-0 Vegas after the first period if not for Kevin Lankinen. But he was phenomenal in that opening period, keep it scoreless. And then Vegas took the 2-1 lead in the third period of that game. And from that point on, Aiden Hill did in the third period what Kevin Lankinen did in the first period. Like, Aiden Hill was insane in the third period. Vancouver had a million chances, easily could have tied that game. But Aiden Hill was spectacular. It was one of the best periods of hockey I've seen from him all year. And then, of course, Vegas and Tomas Hertl putting it away into the empty net. And Brandon Saad getting his first goal with the Vegas Golden Knights, and it was the game winner. And Vegas gets a 3-1 win there at home over the Vancouver Canucks. Elias Pettersson did play, but again, they were once again without Quinn Hughes in that game. Huge card, Alex. Anything you want to talk about from those games yesterday?
Well, I just kind of want to touch a little bit on that Columbus-Chicago game, and we talked about, we said it before the break. That the first period overtrend may not completely carry over. Knew it was kind of a tricky spot, especially everybody on back-to-backs first couple of games. But I was right in the sense of where the Hawks just seemed like one of those teams, and we got a couple of spots, I think, with some teams that didn't play yesterday playing today, where it just, they know that the season's pretty much over. They know guys are going to get moved, that this group's not going to really stick around much. And like I said, after that goal from Pat Maroon was taken away, it seemed like the air just kind of came out of their sails. And Columbus was able to coast with that victory. But it was just a good read to get that regulation win. And that's something to mark with Chicago. Now, I like Chicago tonight. We'll talk about the game with Toronto. But that's something to mark with some of these bottom feeder teams at this point. The bottom fives, bottom tens right now at this point, especially once they start trading off important pieces to their team, then they start getting weaker. They start bringing the call-ups in. We can start trying to fade them now before they make the moves in mass, and then all of a sudden now you have to lay 300 against them, lay 400 against them. So that's the thing to look for. We talk about capitalizing with the top 10 teams, but now's the time to strike with some of these bottom 5, bottom 10 teams when they're mispriced, when that line was actually fairly priced when you think about it. I was kind of cautious about laying 160 with Columbus. And so I took it in regulation, but that's certainly, if we see those two teams play again, you're probably laying 200. So catching spots in those moments, just like we said, backing certain dogs that are live early to catch some of these favorites that are a bit bloated. That's the name of the game, at least in this coming week.
No doubt. And like I said, yesterday it was just one of those days where it lined up well. The layoff and the 2 weeks off for all the teams kind of leveled the playing field a lot more. And that's why you saw your Anaheims and your Seattles and teams that haven't, Philadelphia, against superior teams. They were all playing teams that were better than them on paper. But like I said, that's why they were able to get the win, because it really makes it more of an even contest because of the layoff factor and the time off. That did absolutely make a difference, helping those inferior teams be more competitive. Let's see if we have more underdog madness today on the Sunday slate. 10 games. We'll get right into it. Edmonton and Washington. We got Edmonton minus 140 road favorites here. 6.5 the total in this game. Now, normally in these situations, I want the team off a very bad loss, especially when they're a good team, over the team that's off a satisfying blowout win. There's no question. And obviously, Edmonton probably looking to bounce back. I'm sure they're going to have a good effort here today. And Washington off the blowout win against Pittsburgh, you worry that maybe they're not quite as on their toes as maybe Edmonton would be. But how many more times do we have to talk about this with Washington here? They just are so disrespected. I mean, they're plus 120 home underdogs here in this game. What more can we say about giving this team a little bit more respect than that? I mean, it's just absolutely insane that they're talking about the best team in the East, right there for the President's Trophy hunt. And here they are, plus 120 home. And they didn't even play that friggin' good yesterday against Pittsburgh at all. In fact, Pittsburgh was taking it to them when it was 2-2. And then all of a sudden, several mistakes, and it took the wind right out of the Penguins' sails when the Caps erupted for those 4 goals. I would say if I'm Spencer Carberry, I know my team won 8-2 yesterday, but I'm not thrilled about the way we played necessarily. in that game against Pittsburgh, especially early on. So 8-3, I should say. So we'll see how it goes. How about Washington now suddenly 6 straight overs for them going into this game? 6 straight full game overs for the Washington Capitals going into this game. 3 straight full game overs for Edmonton. Of course, a 6-3 loss. They were porous defensively in that game. And of course, they lost their last game before the break to Colorado as well. So they're on a 2-game losing streak. Like I said, they just made way too many turnovers, way too many mistakes with the puck. This is just, Washington does have a bad back-to-back record. We should point that out. The back-to-back record for the Capitals this year is not great. But man, even with that back-to-back, I did sprinkle on, I don't love it, but I did sprinkle on I have to take Washington at this price, even with Lindgren. And Lindgren has not been great lately. And Calvin Pickard actually has been all right for the Edmonton Oilers in some of his recent starts. Like, Calvin Pickard's numbers aren't bad. 2.52 goals against, .901 save percentage. He's actually given up 3 goals or less in 6 straight starts coming into this afternoon's game. And obviously, like I said, Lindgren's been a little bit more spotty, and there's definitely become a separation here for Charlie Lindgren, or from Logan Thompson to Charlie Lindgren. Where definitely Logan Thompson has established himself as the number 1 goaltender. So I get all that, but my gosh, you're going to make Washington plus 120 in their home barn an underdog. That's pretty interesting. One thing to keep in mind, Tom Wilson, a late injury, was cross-checked late in the game by Ryan Graves, and game-time decision for Washington here, Tom Wilson in this game. So we'll have to see if he plays this one. But like I said, I'm going to go over by Fecta here. I know I'm worried about Edmonton especially trying to tighten up a bit, but both teams are trending over. So I'm on an early afternoon over by Fecta here, and I sprinkled on Washington plus 120. Alex, what do you think here, Oilers Capitals?
Yeah, I'm waiting for this number to come down. I'm not laying anywhere from 146 to 160 on the first period over. And of course, that makes sense. That's Edmonton's shifting involved in that. But like you said, this number, it is a tad bit disrespectful to Washington, but also, like you said, you've got Edmonton coming off of a loss, Caps off of a blowout win where they didn't look that impressive. This is, I think they kind of weight that into this number a little bit. And like you said, Lindgren's always going to be a dog compared to Thompson. I don't like backing a team, let's say this, I don't like fading Oilers off of a loss. That's the thing that's keeping me up. This was Capitals plus 120 against Toronto or some other comparable top team that draws money. I would be all over Caps, but this is the spot where now Edmonton can come out, get 3 goals, and maybe coast on this one. But I do have, and it's mentioned in the chat, Alex Ovechkin anytime goal plus 120. He has scored in 6 games on the second leg of back-to-backs. Also looking at him last goal. We always been talking about this, of course, with his chase for the Gretzky record. You can get him at 10-1 today. Normally he's like 7-1, 8-1. But the favorites in the game, obviously, because the Oilers are favorite, are McDavid and Draisaitl. So, Ovechkin, anytime goal plus 120 and last goal at 10-1. Those are my 2 plays.
All right, good, very good. Good game here to start the day for sure with the Oilers and the Capitals. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. All right, next up we've got, and by the way, like I mentioned, Pickard and Lindgren, your goalies. New York Rangers, Pittsburgh Penguins. Rangers minus 145, road favorites, 6 the total. This is the easiest pass for me on the board from a side perspective. I'm not laying $1.45 with the Rangers on the road. No chance. But I'm not taking Pittsburgh either. Unfortunately, when something bad happens to the Pittsburgh Penguins, they just crumble. And we saw that yesterday. The New York Rangers, clearly. Now, the Rangers, at least with them, they had a lot of guys that were in that championship game. JT Miller, Chris Kreider, Adam Fox. They were all playing for Team USA in that championship game. That's no total excuse, but, it was a tough turnaround. Buffalo's been playing well on home ice. We talked about that. You still shouldn't lose 8-2. That is for sure. This was supposed to be a Jonathan Quick start. I do believe he will be the starting goalie, even though they yanked Shesterkin yesterday. They'll go with Jonathan Quick. They'll keep it as it was planned by Peter Laviolette. This was going to be a Jonathan Quick game all along, just like this was going to be a Yoel Blomqvist game all along on the back-to-back after Jari got the start yesterday. Or not Jari, Nedeljkovic, rather, for the Pittsburgh Penguins. He's gone. It was Nedeljkovic yesterday. And he wasn't good, obviously.
No.
But Blomqvist wasn't bad, actually. He made a couple saves. He gave up a couple ones that were kind of meh as well. But he's a young goalie. He's trying to make his way, get his feet wet in the NHL. It's going to take him some time. We'll see how this one plays out. This is another one where, in theory, these teams both gave up 8 goals yesterday. Rangers gave up 8 to Buffalo. Pittsburgh gave up 8 to Washington. In theory, this is supposed to be an under spot where teams tighten up. You can't be playing that way. Can't be giving up 8 goals. We got to take care of the defensive zone coming off the kind of performances we both had yesterday. But I ain't betting an under with these two defenses right now, or goaltenders, especially on the Pittsburgh side. Blomqvist a little bit more of a – see, Quick could come up with a gem. We have seen it from time to time from Jonathan Quick.
Yeah.
He had a solid year, so we'll have to wait and see. Probably because of the Quick, trusting an old veteran to maybe stop the bleeding here. Maybe I'll lean slightly to the Rangers, but there's no way I'm getting there at -145. If Pittsburgh takes the lead, knowing Pittsburgh can blow leads, maybe then I'll take the Rangers at a plus money price live in game. And if I do, Patreon members, and by the way, live wager chat room is open to Patreon members now on the Patreon page. I posted a bunch of live bets yesterday in the live bet chat room on the Patreon page, and majority of them hit. So it was a great live betting day as well there. And again, that's another incentive you get, and another perk, if you will, to being a Patreon member. We now have the chat room open, a live betting chat room open as well on the Patreon page. So make sure you get in there, get involved, get the conversation going. Alex and I will try to jump in there from time to time, but that's your chat room, guys. You're the Patreon members. Yep. Try to interact with each other, and say, hey, how are you? Get some connections going, if you will. That's what it's there for, to chat amongst the Patreon members. Of course, Alex and I will chime in as well from time to time. It won't always be consistently, and it won't always be every single day, but definitely we will get in there and chime in. And anytime we have a live bet during the games, we will post it on the Patreon page. So again, if you're, we'll say it a million times, if you're not a Patreon member, what the hell are you waiting for? Just $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys. So for me, this is just kind of a live betting game. Maybe a live over if it starts slow, which is probably what I'll look to do, because I could see it starting slow. I honestly could, just because both teams were just miserable defensively. How did both of these coaches, Sullivan and Laviolette, not focus on defense today, at least to begin, after giving up 8 goals yesterday? Alex, what do you think here, Rangers, Penguins?
Yeah, that normally seems to be the case, right? Especially in Pittsburgh, you lose, you give up 8 goals. The next thing you want to do, especially you play 24 hours later, is tighten things up. I don't know if they can. They said these goaltenders and Pittsburgh side, you said Tristan Jarry is gone. He might pop back up at some point the way Nedeljkovic looked yesterday. He was awful. And he was, after watching another bad goalie earlier in Cam Talbot just completely blow his load in the third period, to go from him to watching Nedeljkovic, just a rough afternoon for a couple of goalies. But Blomqvist had to play a bunch of minutes, and he gave up some soft goals as well. So, who's to say he can't turn around and lay another egg and give up 4 or 5 on his own? I already took the over full game pregame, but I did stay off of that first period over because, like you said, that just the natural inclination of a team both of them getting trounced to play a little tighter early. But I don't know if that's going to matter. I might have time to grab a live first period over if I see the pace look like it's just going to be pond hockey, because these two teams aren't going anywhere. Like I think they're going to start to realize, especially in the Rangers case. I think the Rangers, like we said yesterday, they needed a good win to just try to get some momentum and say, hey, we're still in this thing. That's a bad loss against a team that's also trying to get to the spot you're trying to grab this point now, a wild card spot. I just don't see where the Rangers can, do you see them stringing 5 wins together at this point the rest of the way? Do you see the Penguins trying to string 5 or 6 wins? This game feels like a game like in late April, of two teams that just aren't going anywhere. So I think we see goals here. I like the over.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. I know they want to tighten up, and that's theory for the under. It's just difficult with these two defenses.
They want to win, too, and they can't. So, that's how that works.
You guarantee that Chris Letang and Adam Fox aren't turnover machines and turnstiles and making mistakes and blowing coverages in the defensive zone, those two stalwarts? No, you cannot. You cannot guarantee that to me. So that's why it's difficult.
And wait, how many times this year – and it happened during the Four Nations too. How many times this year have you seen a goal where Chris Letang is literally inside of the net?
Yeah, I know.
He's gotten cooked defensively.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
yeah, because the forward literally puts them on a turnstile and literally on skates and just turns them inside out. It's happened a bit. And Adam Fox, man, geez, some of these just coverage breakdowns, like even in the Four Nations, man, that is number 97, right? That you're kind of you're checking hot air and you don't get to number 97 right in the slot. How is that possible? But it just goes to show you there's major issue. And Keandre Miller loved his game last year. What a decline! It's unfortunate. That's why the Rangers are where they are. Lindgren's been a mess. He's still physical, but I'm talking about positioning. I mean, just out to lunch sometimes. It's very unfortunate. Both of these teams have defensive issues. There's no doubt, and that's why they are where they are right now, outside the playoff picture. All right, Seattle and Tampa Bay. The rest of the games, I believe, are at night, 6 p.m. Eastern for this one. Tampa Bay minus 265, home favorite, 6 the total. Tampa Bay is way overpriced, and I normally like backing the team that's had a game under their belt as opposed to the team that is just coming back from the long break, like Tampa Bay. And by the way, Nikita Kucherov has shown up on the injury report, upper body injury, so we'll see if he is ready to go for this game. That'll be interesting if he's ready to return or not. Vasilevsky projected, by the way, back-to-back for Seattle. Now, don't rule out Decord getting a start on a back-to-back because they had all the rest. But if not, that means we could be looking at the NHL debut of Ales Steshka here for the Seattle Kraken, goaltender, 28 years old from Czechia, who might make his NHL debut. But I get the feeling Decord could go again because they've had the long time off, a lot of rest. I could see them, see Dan Bilesma going back to Joey Decord here on a back-to-back. The only thing holding me off taking Seattle again, who rewarded me very nicely yesterday with a best bet winner in their 2-1 win against the Florida Panthers, is that their back-to-back record is horrendous. It's absolutely awful, Seattle, and it's very difficult for me to trust Seattle with that, knowing that the back-to-back record has been difficult. I would lean Seattle still, but they have not been good on back-to-backs. That I can tell you. So I'm probably going to end up passing. I'll probably just take the Seattle money from yesterday and move on. I am tempted though, because this is a big price, and it's look for Tampa. They had a lot of their guys in the Four Nations as well. So are they going to be at their absolute best? I'm worried about that. That back-to-back record is just so awful for Seattle. It's kind of tempering my enthusiasm here to back the Kraken one more time. Alex, what do you think here? Seattle, Tampa Bay.
There we go. Yeah, this is a spot where I'd maybe, especially if we don't see Decord, if we see Stechka make his debut, I'd be looking at Tampa team total. And I'm looking now 3.5, land 130, 135. I still might take a shot with that because even if it is Decord again, who's to say he's just he's had the rest, but second game of back-to-backs, and this could be a spot where Tampa maybe comes out with some energy. That's a team too that I said have circled where the rest angle, veteran team, now they can get into that mindset of, hey, now we're in playoff mode, right? Because they're a team that they know how to balance and manage themselves, their expectations. They're not jumping out to a hot lead. We never see them really jump out to a hot lead at the beginning of the year. It's always the second half when they start to get their momentum. So this could be one of those games. I'll go team total over 3.5. I'll lay the 135 with this, regardless of goal.
All right, Tampa Bay team. That's definitely the way to back Tampa Bay in this game if you like the Lightning. It's definitely not to get involved money line, regulation line, way too expensive, way too pricey. There you go. And Tampa Bay, I knew the stat would come out from Jonathan because he's mentioned it before. Tampa Bay's won 31 games this year. 25 of the 31 wins, they've scored at least 4 goals. So when they win, they score 4 goals. That's basically the gist of that. So 25 of their 31 wins, Tampa Bay has gotten to 4 goals. So that's why if you like Tampa Bay in the game, just bet their team total. That's always the best way to go with that. Kakko, why not? Kakko's playing well for Seattle. Scored yesterday. Why not take another shot for him as far as goal prop here in this game? Something to keep an eye on. Colorado and St. Louis. We've got Colorado minus 140, road favorites, 5-6 the total, shaded to the under. There is 5.5 out there, but for the most part, we're looking at 6s as far as the total here with the Avs and the Blues. Avs have won 3 straight against the St. Louis Blues. They've actually won 4 straight rather here in St. Louis. They're off the setback to Nashville. St. Louis with the shootout loss to Winnipeg 4-3 last night, just 3-7. So they've really cooled off, just 3-7 are the St. Louis Blues in their last 10 games. So they've really come back down to earth as of late. It looks like we're going to see Blackwood and Binnington. Now, Binnington, we probably will see him. Obviously, they rested him yesterday. We saw Hofer. Binnington will be in net for St. Louis. But is this Four Nations Binnington, big game Binnington, big moment Binnington, or is this mediocrity and, up and down erratic Binnington that we saw pretty much the entire regular season this year for the St. Louis Blues before the Four Nations tournament? That's what, and I do think there could be a little bit of a letdown here for Binnington's coming off one of the biggest games of his life. He played awesome. He was great in overtime when they beat the United States in that game on Thursday. And I think it's going to be a little bit tricky, to be able to say, yeah, we'll fully trust him here to be as good now that we're just back to regular season play here with the St. Louis Blues. Scott Wedgwood got the start yesterday for the Colorado Avalanche, which means we'll see Mackenzie Blackwood here in this game tonight for the Colorado Avalanche. I'm on a Colorado and Colorado team total over split in this game. I'm on the -140 with Colorado money line, split with team total over 3.5 at a really nice price, +120 for that Colorado team total over 3.5. I've got a split with those two, so I think the Avalanche do bounce back after a bit of a lethargic game yesterday, 2-1 loss to the Nashville Predators. I did tell you, though, Nashville does give Colorado a tough game, but they've owned St. Louis. They're off a loss. I think they bounce back here. Avs money line split with Avs team total over, and I'm going back to the first period over for sure. St. Louis is really one of those teams that have been on a roll. 10-2 now to the first period over for the St. Louis Blues in their last 12 games. This could be an over by Fecta too, but I definitely prefer the first period over here in this game. Alex, Colorado, St. Louis.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take my money and run as far as full game over with the Blues after last night. But I do like that first period over. You can get -112 at FanDuel with that. And like you said, yeah, this seems like an Avs spot. So this might be one where I'll tell you on that money line and the team total. But I think I'm going to go a little bit heavier on the money line, -140. And like I said, I don't mind laying 130s, 140s in certain spots this time of year. I'm a little more open. I kind of expand the range, the parameter range of bets. So this is one we have -140. I'll go larger on that, but I'll add team total and I'll go first period over as well. A little sprinkle in the draw, perhaps. That's because it's a divisional game. Both teams needing the points, but it'd be much smaller than usual if I do add that.
Yeah, I get it for sure. They did dominate. You're right, Jonathan, with the shots against Nashville, 32-17. They certainly had their chances to tie it, but couldn't find that tying goal. And that's the one thing about Colorado. When the offense dries up one game, often they have an explosion the next. We'll see if that's tonight here. So, yeah, money line and team total over split for me with Colorado there in that one. All right, next up as we continue along here, we've got Anaheim and Detroit. Obviously, both of these teams played yesterday. For Anaheim, this is playing last night and with travel. Whereas for Detroit, they played the very first game of the day yesterday and didn't have to travel because this is back-to-back home games for them at the Pizza Box. So definitely an advantage for Detroit, even though both teams are on the back-to-back here. We've got Detroit -195 home favorites here in this game, 5.5 the total across the board. I think we're going to see Dostal. We're certainly not going to see Gibson. I definitely think he is going to be out for this game on the back-to-back. His injury looked like he's going to miss some time. That's the kind of injury it looked like to me. So expect Lukas Dostal. This was probably going to be his start all along for the Anaheim Ducks because they went with Gibson last night. Alex Lyon, I'm sure he's going to be in net on the back-to-back for Detroit, especially with Talbot kind of a mess, kind of shit in his, let's be honest, kind of shit in his pants in the third. And what was he doing on that breakaway goal in overtime? It's like he's just fumbling around there, and it's like a seal there flopping around like a fish in his goal crease there trying to find that fucking puck.
Completely lost sight of the puck. It was that the tying goal and the winning goal. And it's funny because I was talking to a friend of the program, Jarek Rubel, when it was 3-2.
Yeah. Right
when that second goal is in that text, I said, do you trust Cam Talbot in the best of 7 series? Because he's got a lot of futures invested in the Red Wings. Right. And then he went through about all this other stuff with all the other teams he's confident. I said, yeah, there's many ways to cook an egg, but do you trust Cam Talbot in a 7-game series? And before he could even respond to that, that's when the tying goal comes in. Detroit, if there's any team that needs to make a change in goal before the trade deadline, if they want to do something in the playoffs, it's the Red Wings. You cannot trust you have 3 goalies, you don't have one. You can't trust Talbot, you can't trust Lyon, you can't trust Husso, and you aren't bringing up Kosa for whatever reason. So you got to go out and get a goal if you're Detroit. That's his bottom line.
He's been banging that drum, Alex, the last couple days with the goaltending issues here. And look, it's when you see a game like that, it's hard to argue with it. Now, Lions had some bright moments, but you never know if it's going to be that way game in and game out, night in and night out with him.
That's who he is. He is who he is. He will give you some quality starts in a spot situation, but if you try to play him long term, he's just going to be middle of the road because he's a middle of the road goalie.
Yeah. By the way, and here's Jarek Rubel here because he's got so much money tied up in the Detroit Red Wings, even though he's a Chicago Blackhawks fan, rooting like hell every day in our chat for the Detroit Red Wings. Here, Jarek, why don't we set you up with a meeting with the Ilitch family? Why don't we just get you a chance to meet with the owner there at this point? Right. That big of a Detroit fan because of the money. I get it, though. I get it. You got a big financial position involved. I get it. Sure. But, I mean, I'm with you there. It's like there's a lot of they're doing a lot of good things. Well, the power play was doing a lot of good things, and they decided we're going to get too cute yesterday again and start passing and passing up shot opportunities. So that's going to be interesting to see how it plays out here. Detroit blowing that game. It's just a game I don't really have a strong opinion on either way. I don't want to lay this price with Detroit. It does kind of feel like it's set up well for them to bounce back, though. Do we trust Anaheim on back-to-back on the road? A big win last night, though. They are playing better. They are. Before the break, they started to put wins together. I would take Anaheim before I take Detroit, but McClellan has been good off a loss since he's been here with Detroit, and I do trust them to have a pretty good game and a pretty good effort here and a bounce back. But I just don't like anything to do with Detroit at this price, -195. Alex, what do you think here? Ducks, Wings.
I like the first period over 1.5 -110. I think Detroit tries to come out hot offensively because of how the yesterday ended. I think that that's the thing, right? We always talk about that. Well, if you have defensive issues, if you have goaltending issues, if you make mistakes, then the next game you want to try and tighten those things up, fix those things. Sure. But, the best way to cure a bad defense is offense. And we know Detroit has offense in spades. They can come out and Anaheim's the team you can bum rush, right? You don't worry about Anaheim if you're up 3 goals, if you're up 4 goals. So I think that might be Detroit's way of winning this game today. So I'm going first period over. And maybe sprinkle a full game over. That's something I could maybe wait for, in game, try and hope for, a slower start to the first and try and grab full game over. But I have first period over, I should say. Already in pocket -$1.10.
Yeah. Detroit, by the way, I think when you look at them, they've been, they're actually, you know what? I'm going to bet first period. I knew it was it's 12-4 after yesterday. It did stay under in the first period. That first period over. I'm only going first period over in this game because you're right. I could see the 2 goals early and then it kind of slows down after that. They're still 12-4 first period over, this Detroit Red Wings team in their last 16 games. And by the way, it's now 6 straight games for Detroit with a goal in the first 10 minutes. So I think goal in the first 10 minutes of this game might be cheap enough that we can bet it on its own, which isn't always the case. Like I never want to lay -150 with these damn things, before the game. But I think in this game, the goal in the first 10 minutes might be a little bit better. Yeah, we're getting it closer to like -130 here in this game. So that first period goal in the first 10, which is cashed in 6 straight Detroit Red Wings games, I think that might be worth a look here as well. Goal prop wise, Zegras is really starting to percolate here. He scored last night for the Anaheim Ducks. Carlson's starting to get it going. There's no doubt. So there's a couple players that we've been waiting on for Anaheim to get their offensive game going. For Detroit, obviously, you look at what we've seen from DeBrincat had a huge day yesterday. Larkin and Raymond, that duo continues to click. Casper, the friendly betting ghost, has finally cooled off. Maybe we lay off him for a bit, but still value with him if you trust him to find the back of the net here tonight rather for Detroit. All right, we've got New Jersey and Nashville. New Jersey -120, road favorites in this game. The total here sitting at 6 pretty much across the board. This is back-to-back for both teams. New Jersey off the loss to Dallas last night. Nashville off the win against the Colorado Avalanche. So we'll see how this one plays out here between these two teams. But obviously, now this is where I want New Jersey. You've got them coming off a loss on the road, and they've been a good road team in the last couple of years, this Devils team as well. Coming off the setback that they had yesterday against the Dallas Stars. Nashville, meanwhile, a team that off a win. When's the last time Nashville has been able to win two? Well, they have won 2 in a row because they beat Buffalo before the break as well. But long win streaks have been few and far between for the Nashville Predators. And let's be real, they were outshot 32-17 in the win against Colorado yesterday. So even though they won that game, wasn't necessarily a dominant effort. New Jersey, like I said, 16-11-2 on the road entering this matchup. Last time they were here in Nashville, they won by a score of 4-2. Now, by the way, it's worth noting here as far as the goaltending situation is concerned, Jake Allen got the start against Dallas, which means it's probably Nico Dawes time. Nico Dawes time here for the New Jersey Devils tonight in the back-to-back here in Nashville. And meanwhile, it was UC Saros for Nashville, which means we might see to be honest, Saros has not had a great season. He hasn't been great. He was great last night, though, and he was very good the last time we saw him in the Four Nations, too. He entered that game in relief in the Canada game on Monday, and he actually played pretty well, and he played very well last night for the Nashville Predators as well. But now we're going to get our guy Useless Onnen in here, and I don't think he's all that great. Now, Nashville on a back-to-back, I don't trust. Jersey's been a bad back-to-back team, no question about that, but I'm taking them tonight. The better team, they're off a loss. I know their back-to-back record is very, very dubious, but I think they get the job done here on the road, and I don't trust Nashville to win back-to-back at home. -125 for me with the Devils. Probably will sprinkle on team total for the Devils as well, which is you can get over 3 actually at close to even money at BetMGM, where you can do the half-goal increments with the team totals. Definitely think that's worth a lot. I just think New Jersey's cheap here. I don't think Nashville's win is a sign of them getting on a run. We've seen this before. And by the way, it's not like that was a convincing win. Like I said, they got outshot heavily. It was Saros stealing the day for Nashville to hang on and win that game. It's not because the team played all that phenomenal. So, yeah, for me, team total over for Devils, split with Devils money line. That's the way I'm going here in this one. And Nico Dawes, remember, he started against Pittsburgh. He played pretty well in that game. They beat the Penguins, in that Nico Dawes start. I remember backing them when he was in net. And Alex is probably going to talk about this a bit when he breaks down this game. To me, the difference is not all that. The gap is not a wide gap right now between Jake Allen and Nico Dawes. It's just not. It's not a huge, massive difference. There's a little bit of an edge, obviously, to the veteran, the more experienced guy in Allen. But Nico Dawes was very capable when he beat Pittsburgh for this team. So, and like I said, I think he can go in there and give the Devils good enough goaltending to get the win in Music City. Alex, what do you think here? New Jersey, Nashville.
Yeah, this is a cheap price for New Jersey. I'm seeing -120 at FanDuel. That's definitely something I'm interested in. I would be jumping in on that, but I'm looking as I pull up patreon.com/Ice Guys. I bring up my charts. Yeah, it's a 15-cent drop between Allen and Dawes. Now that's fairly average between starting goalie and backup goalie. Of course, they are much further away, the two of them, than Jacob Markstrom, the regular starter who's out. But yeah, it's negligible, and I think more, and it's something I'm going to add to these goalie charts. Maybe not this season, or if I do, it'll be later in the year. But I want to add a total marker, right? Because there's certain goalies where if we see, Connor Hellebuck at 5.5, like that's going to be common, right? But if we see a Jake Allen at 5.5, that's usually a buy point. Where 6.5, we can kind of dictate another frames and other things. So I think the difference there between the two goalies would be I would trust Dawes to play a little bit tighter. Where I would be more inclined to go with an over, like over by Fectus with Allen in that. So that's really the difference. But either way here, as far as like I said, Nashville, a team we can't trust. Don't trust either goalie. Like I said, Saros looked bad before the break. And maybe he regains a little bit of confidence playing in the Four Nations. That remains to be seen. But Useless Onnen, as named, can't trust him at all. So I'm going -120 with Devils.
That's pretty cool. I must admit that I'm calling him.
It's a great name, though. That's a
It is
great
funny.
name though.
Yeah.
Like it works, but it works in the moment. So
Yeah.
Devils minus 120, and maybe I'll look for some overs in game if I see a fast pace. Which the Devils are one of those teams that can really slow it down and control it. If they especially get a couple of goals, they can sit on it. So yeah, we'll wait on the totals, but we'll go money line with the Devils.
But the results speak for themselves. I mean, he's given up 13 goals in his last 3 starts, 4, 4, and 5. So,
Yeah.
he's obviously struggled when he's gotten the opportunity in net for the Nashville Predators. So, another reason
How bad?
to
Never mind that the rest of Nashville has just struggled and all the moves that they made didn't come to fruition, but just how bad did they fuck up the goaltending situation? You
Very much.
had one of the best prospects in the league who now looks like he's going to be, something special already in San Jose, the couple of games he's had in the NHL. And you traded him away, and now you have Annunen as your backup. And now you're stuck with Saros for this long deal, and now he's looking like he might be on a bit of a decline. That's just what a mess.
Although he's living up more to his the way he's played at the Canada-Finland game when he came to that game in relief of Lankinen, and then last night he's finally starting to resemble the Mass Mutual lad again with no goals.
Yeah.
Finally, yeah. Which of course is a commercial we see all the time. Anytime you watch like a TNT or an ESPN national broadcast of an NHL game, you're seeing Saros in that ad, guaranteed.
I saw it like 6 times last night.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. With him and O'Reilly Auto Parts. Are in that ad for Nashville. So, all right, next up, we go to the Windy City, Toronto and Chicago. We're old enough to remember these were division rivals, and this was a good heated battle back in the 80s and early 90s. There was a time in the early 90s, Chicago was always a playoff team. The Leafs got Gilmore and Clark. They had a couple playoff series. Toronto-Chicago was good hockey, I remember, back in those days, early 90s. I think Mike Keenan and then Darryl Sutter coached Chicago around that time, and they had some really good battles, the Leafs and the Blackhawks, and miss those days, man. I really, really do. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just to say, there's a lot of history. Well, we'll lead into it as we talk about the game, but there's a lot of history that'll be probably mentioned tonight throughout the game, and like you said, this is a perfect opponent to have coming into town. So.
No doubt. Minus 265 for Toronto, road favorite, 6 the total. Oh, and by the way, shout out, it is his final game tonight. Frank Pellico, the legendary organist of the Chicago Blackhawks. And this goes back to Chicago Stadium days, way back when. He went with the team to the United Center, and he has been the organist, that great organ, that pipe organ that you've heard for decades at Blackhawks games. And Frank Pellico has been the man behind that. This is his final game, manning the piano at a Chicago Blackhawks game tonight before retirement. So, what a career. I know Doc Emmerich's a dear friend of his. He always, apparently when Doc, and he always said this story, whenever Doc did a game in Chicago, he'd make a point to spend 10, 15 minutes chatting with Frank Pellico in the organist booth. That's just, and good friend of his. So that's pretty cool. Great career. Like I said, looking forward to that. And apparently, let me see if we can pop this up here with Frank. I believe Alex has got a image in mind here. Let me just a picture here of, there we go. Back in the day. We'll get this on screen right now. This is pretty cool right here. This is Alex with the legend Frank Pellico, the organist of the Chicago Blackhawks right there.
Yes,
there
that's from the first ever Chicago Blackhawks convention. They had it at a hotel downtown. I literally got on a bus and went down there and got to meet a lot of the players, but I got to take a picture with Frank. That's me back in the day. A little bit bigger, but but that's was a wonderful moment. Got to talk with him for a few minutes, and he played throughout the whole day there with the organ and stuff. So just fantastic. And for those who've been to a Hawks game in the last 30 years, especially if you get there early and you hear him warming up and playing and stuff, it gives you that feel of old time hockey, and it was just wonderful. It's always one of my favorite moments was hearing him play at the game. So hopefully that he'll go out in style, and hopefully the team will like I said, show some really cool clips and different moments. We were talking about national anthems lately, of course, with the Four Nations. He was the guy who played in the organ when Wayne Messmer sang the 1991 All-Star game days after the Gulf War started, and one of the most memorable national anthems probably in sports history, if not NHL history. So he's certainly a part of Chicago Blackhawks history, and hopefully can go out in style with one more game.
I think they are a live home underdog tonight, quite honestly. And this is, look, Toronto's an excellent team. It was a great win. They pounced on Carolina last night 4-0, but they had to expend energy to hang on at the end. That they probably hoped that they had coasted a little better than that, to save themselves a bit for tonight. But nevertheless, and another thing to factor in here too, Chicago's actually won 2 straight times hosting the Leafs here at the United Center. 2 years ago, they beat them 5-3. Last year, they beat them in overtime by a score of 4-3. Now, earlier this year in Toronto, the Leafs got a 4-1 win. I'm telling you right now, it could have been a lot worse if not for Soderblom in that game. He was very good, and he's got a very good track record against the Leafs. So this is one where I'm taking a shot here. Plus 215 here with the Blackhawks in this one, just because, the Pelico serenade, if you will, farewell, certainly plays into this just a little bit. Toronto's just had a tough time in this building the last 2 years. And these are Chicago teams that weren't great, and these were Toronto teams that weren't very good. And obviously, they've still had a tough time winning in this building the last 2 years. So I am going to take a shot with Chicago. And I'm not abandoning ship on this first period over with Chicago. Not a chance. We have not lost 2 in a row with Chicago first period over, and I can't even remember how long. So back to the well once again. Leafs Blackhawks over in the first period, still 19-4 in the last 23 games for the Chicago Blackhawks with the first period over. Maybe sprinkle on the full game over, but again, I prefer the first period over here in particular. Joseph Woll will be in net, no shocker, after Stolarz got the nod last night, and he was very good against Stolarz in victory. Woll's had a very good season, though. It's about as good of a backup as you could ask for. And Soderblom, obviously, for Chicago after Mrazek got the start last night. Alex, what do you think here, Leafs, Blackhawks?
Yeah, like I said, this will be a different feel to a usual 6:00 Sunday start at the United Center. With the they're going to do like I said, ceremonies for Frank Pellico, and this is kind of a spot, like I said, where with the Hawks, coming off of what was a ho hum game, didn't have to expend a lot of energy in that game against Columbus last night. And you have Albert Soderblom starting, where this is a team that he clearly gets up for. I'm not sure what it is that, like I said, maybe it's the Swedish angle we talked about, where, just a lot of Swedish history with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and maybe that's why he seems to be a little bit more sharp, a little bit more focused. But 2-1 against the Leafs. All right, am I back? You guys hear me? All right, had some kind of froze right quick. All right, yeah. So this is a spot where first period over is still live in this. The last time the Hawks had back-to-back games where they failed to cover in the first period over, December 12th and December 14th of this year. This has been a very good run. And you could lay in a price of $1.26 right now at FanDuel, the -1.5. Definitely going first period over, but I took a shot here with the Hawks. I grabbed plus 215 last night. It went down. There was some money that came in. Now we've seen it kind of bounce around. But anything plus 190 or higher with the Hawks, I like for money line. First period over 1.5. I bet a little bit small at -126 pregame. I'll probably add a little bit more if I see the pace kind of increase and try and grab that at a plus price. But I think this should be an exciting game. I'm sure, like I said, we're going to be here in the Oregon all night. And hopefully that the fans can kind of respond to that as well. So this should be a fun one. Like I said, when these two teams play each other, it's always interesting games. Like I said, even though it's not like the old rivalries of the 90s, but they seem to get up for one another. And I think that's maybe the original six factor involved too. So I'm looking forward to watching this one, and hopefully the Hawks get a win for Frank, and hopefully get this first period over back on track.
There we go. Again, they have not lost 2 in a row first period overs during this entire 19-4 run. Every loss, it's been followed up with a win. There's like the 4 losses, none of them have been back-to-back with this first period overrun for the Chicago Blackhawks. So definitely something to keep in mind with that, no doubt. All right, that's a good game. I actually agree totally with Alex, with Bailey here with the Steve's call for his bargain bin. That's a good call. He was terrific last night. His first game, He gets a goal early in that game. He's a Minnesota kid as well, State of Hockey. Alex Steves didn't look out of place, and he could add another goal or two as well. He had a terrific game for the Toronto Maple Leafs last night against Carolina, and he was only down on the 4th line as well. What if he gets to the point where they maybe move him up the lineup if he keeps playing like that? and gets more offensive opportunity and ice time. So, yeah, very impressed with Alex Steeves and his season debut last night for the Toronto Maple Leafs there. No doubt, not a bad call as far as goal props here. Chicago, there's always, this is a good night. Maybe I could see, and I like Joe Woll, no doubt, but I still think Chicago can find the back of the net here. You've got Mikheyev, Foligno, Teravainen's actually been a decent line. Yeah, Donato was red hot going into the. I think it's Donato's pizza night again. One more time. He's done a lot of damage at home too lately for the, and he's trying to showcase himself too because they might be. Looking to get Edmonton just scored power play goal. Draisaitl 1-0 Oilers. So there you go. They're on the board quickly there. Great pass. But yeah, Donato's pizza I really like tonight to find the back of the net.
Bertuzzi against his old team.
Yeah, that too. Good call. Yeah, that makes sense. Tyler Bertuzzi, worth a look. I know he's down on the third line now with Frank Nazar and Philip Kurashev down the lineup a bit for him now, but still against his old team, he'll be wanting to put the puck in the net. So yeah, Bertuzzi, Donato, the Teravainen, Foligno, Mikheyev line, take your pick. I think there's good goal prop candidates here.
That line's built a little bit more to be kind of offensive depth when you start talking about Nazar and Kurashev lining this. So I think that could be a live line tonight.
No doubt. All right, Dallas Stars, New York Islanders. Dallas minus 130, road favorites, 5.5 the total here in this game. Stars with a nice, good road performance against New Jersey, 4-2. What's nice about Dallas is every time New Jersey scored, Dallas responded. They really did not let the Devils keep the momentum. They responded, and they answered each and every time. We'll see if they can make it 2 in a row here in as many days on the road here to be post first 2 games post Four Nations break. The 4-2 win yesterday. Casey DeSmith got the start yesterday, which means we do probably see Jake Ottinger, and it is confirmed Jake Ottinger in net for the Stars. Islanders going with Ilya Sorokin, an Islanders team that had that great run coming before the break, where they had scored they had won 6 straight games, 7-3 in their last 10 games, but they did lose each of their last 2 games before the break at Minnesota, at Winnipeg. So we'll see if the Islanders bounce back here in this one. I do want to point out that in Long Island, we've seen a lot of overtime and shootouts between these two teams. 3 of the last 4 meetings here in Long Island, UBS Arena, 3 of the last 4 have gone past regulation. So it's Dallas or pass with a better team. It's a pretty cheap price, all things considered. I probably will get in on Dallas, but I like this draw. I really do. I think there's a good chance we see overtime here. We got back to our old reliable here, good old faithful Thailanders here. 3 of the last 4 meetings here in Long Island with these two teams have gone past regulation. So give me the Stars money line, but I really like this draw in particular here. I think it's live here with this matchup that we might see overtime. Alex, what do you think here? Dallas Stars, New York Islanders.
Well, I'm right there with you on the draw, but you got to shop around because I'm seeing a plus 280 at BetMGM. There's no way I'm betting that.
Boo. Plus, I'm booing that. Boo.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
That's awful. Plus 315 at BetOnline is best I'm seeing. I'll shop around more, but that's worth a look. Anything plus 300 or higher. With Islanders, with Stars, series history, and Stars off of back-to-back. I see, like I said, that was, you said, lunch pail game, workman-like game yesterday for Dallas. I can see this one, especially with Ottinger and that being a little bit more low and slow and going past regulation. So plus 315 on the draw for me.
Oh, plus 15. There is some plus 315s out there. That is true. So shop around. It looks like that's about the best we're going to get with this particular one. But like I said, plus 314 right now at Pinnacle's pretty good as well. Yeah, Duchesne, goal prop. Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, for Dallas, he's been on a roll. He's been playing some great hockey. Finally adjusted the price down a bit, plus 240. That's not bad either. Mason Marchment, as high as plus 500. My goodness, at BetMGM here for Mason Marchment for the Dallas Stars. So that's not a bad look as far as goal props for them. For the New York Islanders, someone that I noticed a little bit at least starting to, percolate a little bit and score going into the break was Simon Holmstrom. I know he's only on the third line for them, but a little down the board a little bit, but keep an eye on him. He's certainly someone that started to get his offensive game ripping a little bit before the break for the New York Islanders. So could be something worth a look as well on their side for goal prop in this game. All right, San Jose and Calgary next up here. And by the way, this is another one of these games, Stars and Islanders, where it's Dallas on the back-to-back. They've got a game under their belt. This is the New York Islanders' first game following the break. Sometimes, to me, that's an advantage for the team that's got a game under their belt already. You know, they've got that cohesion going a little bit. The Islanders are just hitting the ice for the first time. I know in the NBA, it's the same thing. Oftentimes, I'd prefer a team coming off a break when they've played already, as opposed to the team that hasn't played a game already in these type of situations. All right, San Jose and Calgary. Next up, we've got Calgary, huge home favorites here at the Saddle Dome, minus 240 home favorites. The total here sitting at 6, shaded to the over in this game. Too big of a price, obviously, on the Calgary Flames to want to back them. Am I running to bet San Jose, though, at the same time? Not really. You look at the San Jose Sharks before the break. They lost 4 in a row, 1-9 in the 10 games before their break. This is the first game back from the break for both teams. Neither one played yesterday. Calgary didn't play great going into the break. They lost to the Leafs, the Avs at home, the Kraken at home in overtime, and they blew that game as well. They had a lead. They lost 3-2. Hungry like the wolf. Dustin Wolf confirmed in net for Calgary tonight. Right now, projected to be Vitek Vanacek. Sorry, it's Georgiev confirmed. Actually, just updated the goalie up, or the matchup pages, the lineup page that I use. Yeah, Georgiev is confirmed here in this one. Maybe, you know what? Georgiev rusty. Calgary at home off 3 straight losses. I could maybe get talked into Calgary puck line, and we know we've talked about the first period puck line, in this one. No, the Georgiev, terrible record in the first period, certainly, with his teams, in his starts, how bad things have been in the first period for him for the majority of the season. So this could be one of these games where I get a little bit interested here in maybe a Calgary first period puck line. In fact, I do think they come out strong because of the fact they had the 3 losses going into the break. Like I said, these teams all year, when Georgiev started, they've had bad opening 20 minutes. So plus 130 for a first period puck line on Calgary. I don't mind taking a shot here with that. So that's probably the only thing I'll bet pregame. We'll see how this game unfolds and go from there. Alex, what do you think here? Sharks, Flames.
I'm on Flames team total over 3.5, minus 125. This is a spot, like I said, teed it up at the beginning of the show. The Sharks are a team that's probably just going to quietly go into the night, try and get a number 1 pick again. Yep. And we might see them only win 5 or 6 games the rest of the way. That just wouldn't shock me one bit. Calgary's a team that, with Dustin Wolf, they make a couple moves. They could maybe try and make some noise
to make the playoffs. You don't bring in a Morgan Frost and a Joel Farabee if you're not trying to make the playoffs. Yep.
And I could see them trying to make one more move to really solidify a solid, get a lineup that's something they can roll with. And if they do get inside the playoffs, and they could really disrupt some things for a lot of people, even if they don't make the playoffs. Just them being in the wild card race, I think, is dangerous enough. So give me the Flames team total over 3.5. Minus 125 is available at a few books. So it's a decent enough price. I think the Flames can get at least 4 here.
By the way, so San Jose, I mentioned they're 1-9 in their last 10 games. So 9 losses in their last 10 games. Other than a 2-1 overtime loss to Vancouver, all the other losses, 8 of their last 9 losses, they have given up at least 4 goals. So there you go. There you go. Yeah, it makes sense. The logic is there for sure for Calgary team total over 3.5 at a reasonable price. It's minus 125 right now at DraftKings with that Flames team total over. I don't mind that at all. I'm going with the first period puck line because of the Georgiev struggles in the opening period. And not to mention he's been off for a long time. And we think Dustin Wolf's the much better goalie. This is a goalie mismatch, quite honestly, on paper. Dustin Wolf versus Alexander Georgiev.
Huge mismatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge. Yeah, Tyler Toffoli, I do like that. You know, if you're going to bet a goal prop right now for San Jose tonight, you would take, former Flame going back to Calgary, maybe able to find the back of the net. I'm going to jump in on the 2 former Flyers. They really started to find themselves before the break. Joel Farabee, Morgan Frost, Matt Coronado, I think, is worth a shot to score as well. He played well before the break for Calgary. So Coronado and the 2 former Flyers now with Calgary, Frost and Farabee. I think they're all good goal prop candidates here for me in this game for the Calgary Flames. All right, next up as we continue along here, final game of this Sunday NHL slate. These are two teams that were both in action last night, Vancouver and Utah. We've got the Utah Hockey Club minus 160 home favorites in this game. The Utah Hockey Club. Yes, you are not seeing things. The Utah Hockey Club are upwards of minus 160 home favorites. The total here in this one, 5.5. We're betting out a principle here. Give me the Vancouver Canucks plus 140. Have to bet it. I mean, I know from a goaltending scenario, Lankinen obviously started last night for the Vancouver Canucks in the loss to Vegas. Demko remains out, and I know that means Arturs Shelovs is probably going to get the start here for the Canucks tonight, and I know it's not been the same Arturs Shelovs we saw late in the season last year. Looked pretty decent throughout the playoffs. Remember, he got all those playoff starts, and he played pretty solid. Like, for a young guy thrown into that situation, played pretty, but it's been a rough year when he's gotten the opportunity this season. His numbers aren't very good. That's the one concern I guess I would have with back in Vancouver tonight. 1-4, 4.11 goals against, .847 save percentage and minimal action this year for She Loves. Yeah, that's great, Bailey. Remind me of the song reference. Yeah, she loves you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. She loves you. Yeah, Little Beatles, of course, from the 60s, going back in time. Yeah, I still at this price have to take take Vancouver, take a shot. Not a big bet because with Shelovs, it's a bit dicey. We don't know what he's going to get. But you look at this Utah team and how miserable they've been on home ice. You tell me how you can trust them as a minus 160 home favorite against anybody with a 9-18 home record this season at the Delta Center. So that is 9-18 at home, minus 160. Not in my book. So for me, Vancouver plus 140, just out of principle with where this price is, to me, have to take a shot here with the Canucks. Alex, final game. What do you think here? Canucks, Utah Hockey Club.
So I don't know if you've ever walked into a bar that you've never been into before. You walk in, you open the door, you look around, and you go, this ain't the spot for me. That's how I feel about this game.
Yeah.
There's no way in hell I'm laying anything with Utah at home. But Vancouver is just
getting involved with Vancouver
right
in this spot and the altitude on a back-to-back with Shelovs. Yeah,
I can't do it. I can't do it. If you like Utah in this spot, and I've been seeing this in our Twitter chat, maybe take Vancouver to miss the playoffs at plus 225 because I could definitely see that happening. And that's a good price. And if you're Vancouver and you come into the spot and you get bounced by Utah, who hasn't done shit at home, that's a sign of, things are going to just get worse, perhaps. So maybe that's something I'd take a sprinkle on, but I'm not betting anything in this game in particular. This is a pass.
I can't blame you. As you know, I'm high volume, and sometimes that's a good thing for me, and sometimes that can be a bad thing for me. But maybe it's a bad thing for me getting into trust here with the Vancouver Canucks. But like I said, this is just Utah 9-18 at home, laying minus 160. Get this shit out of here. Like, you cannot trust Utah on this kind of a price. So that's why I'm on Vancouver. Again, Shelovs, so this is a big start for him because there were signs of a good goaltender with him last year, and it's obviously he's been fighting the puck, it seems, every time he's been in there this year, and that's something that would concern you about him going into tonight. But at the same point in time, this is an opportunity he hasn't played in a while. Maybe hit the reset button.
No. As soon as he said reset button, I think he froze. All right, well, we're going to just wait for him to get back as we wrap everything up. Like I said, this is a pass for me, and he's bet Vancouver because that's – and I understand, like you said, in a high-volume situation and this price, the price is off, right? Like, if this was any other team, not Vancouver, we'd be looking at plus 140. I just can't personally back Vancouver and trust them at the spot. There's a lot of issues going on, Yes, they settled the Miller-Pedersen thing, but is Pedersen back on track? Can Shelovs get back to his form that he was in, a while back? That remains to be seen. So, Ian, you back?
Yeah, I was just going to say, can he hit the reset button, Arturs Shelovs, and maybe because he hasn't played in a while. He has not been in the net for a long time now for Vancouver. Maybe the time off is good for him. Maybe he plays well tonight. Again, that's a kind of assumptions we're going on here with that, but like I said, it's just more so I'm okay fading Utah at that price at home. No doubt. All right, there you have it. Great stuff. We appreciate all of you joining us on this Sunday a rare, huge Sunday card, 10 games. That's pretty crazy. Hit the like button. We appreciate it. And again, patreon.com/Ice Guys, man. That's the place to be. $10 per month. We've got our live chat up and running. All the Patreon members can exchange, talk hockey, talk betting, exchange picks, live bets, post anything you want. Feel free to chirp each other too, as long as it's respectable, nothing incendiary or personal,
Same
or
rules,
religious or racist or anything like that.
right?
Yep.
Same rules that are in our YouTube chat apply to the rules within the Patreon chat.
Yeah, I think most of our Patreon members are pretty good with that, though. But just a reminder, make sure you keep it good and on the up and up. But our live chat's going on the Patreon page, our live wager chat room on the Patreon page, where anyone can post a live in-game bet. Alex and I will certainly post a bunch. And how about yesterday? If you're a Patreon member, I posted a bunch of these second period goal in the first 10 minutes plus over 1.5 parlays. And I think all but one of them cashed. All but one of them hit. So it was a great result with those. Plenty more where that came from. So make sure you sign up. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 per month. Live wagers posted on the page. Live chat room now for Patreon members. Goalie charts, totals charts, our daily betting card posted each and every day on the Patreon page. Sides, totals, player props posted each day on the page. All that and more. Exclusive live betcasts. And speaking of that, we've got our free-for-all betcast this Thursday, February 27th, and 2 Patreon exclusive live betcasts coming your way in the month of March, Thursday, March 6th, Tuesday, March 25th. So again, the 2 March betcasts, both of them exclusive to our Patreon members. So we've just got all kinds of shit popping for our Patreon members on the Patreon page. So make sure you sign up for the stretch drive, the rest of the regular season, and the playoffs. Your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping us running long term. $10 per month, patreon.com/Ice Guys.
Also, check out the Ice Guys store, iceguys.myspreadshop.com. We've got everything in stock right now, and there's 3 days left. You can get free standard shipping with your order. Click on the redeem button at the homepage, add everything to your cart. Free standard shipping will be offered to you at checkout. We might have a new item coming to the store soon. A little birdie dropped off an idea, and we're going to be working on that. So it might be a new T-shirt or hoodie coming to the store as well. But we got all the great classics there as well. So check that out. That's at iceguys.myspreadshop.com.
All right, make sure you check out the store. You're right, great gear and merch there at the Ice Guys store. All right, we got Bargain Bin Special of the night and best bets coming up in just a moment, right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Support for the Ice Guys podcast is provided by Boston Hemp Incorporated, Tailgater Social, and a big thank you to all that subscribe to the Ice Guys Patreon page. Everyone loves a perfect pair. Bacon and eggs. Thunder and lightning. Mario and Luigi. A hot dog with fries. Ian and Alex B. That's right. Everyone loves a perfect pair. So why not pair up your game nights with Boston Hemp? From exotic flower to concentrates and edible products. You'd be hard-pressed to find a better pairing than Boston Hemp and hockey. Check them out today at bostonhempinc.com. That's bostonhempinc.com. Boston Hemp Incorporated, the official smoke sponsor of the Ice Guys. Void where prohibited by law. Not available outside of the United States. Must be 21 or over to obtain products. Check your local regulations to see if Boston Hemp is available in your area.
Shout out to all our great sponsors, including Boston Hemp Inc. Get 20% off all orders on the website using the promo code Ice Guys at bostonhempinc.com. All right, bargain bin special of the night for this big Sunday card. Alex, bargain bin special. What do you like?
Yeah, let's go to 1901 West Madison, Chicago taking on Toronto. Frank Pellico's last night on the Oregon. Give me Tyler Bertuzzi to score a goal. Plus 350, plus 340 is prices I'm seeing. Got a couple of spots where he can get him within bargain bin range. Anytime goal scorer. So Bertuzzi for the Blackhawks. That's my Sunday bargain bin special.
All right, there you have it. Tyler Bertuzzi, Chicago Blackhawks, and a nice price with that as well in that plus 350 range for Alex with his bargain bin special of the night. My bargain bin special for this Sunday slate, again, lots to choose from. Let's go to Calgary, and let's take Morgan Frost, plus 310. If I like Farabee too, as well, worth a look probably for Calgary. He's around plus 320, but I will go with Morgan Frost in particular. I think Calgary does find the back of the net. They're not always a team you trust offensively, but with San Jose coming into town, Alexander Georgiev starting, if you're ever going to trust them offensively to have a breakout kind of night, it's tonight. So Morgan Frost for Calgary, plus 310. That'll be my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets for this Sunday. Alex, best bet sweep for us yesterday. We'll see if we can deliver another one here for this Sunday. What do you like here today for best bet?
Give me the New Jersey Devils on the money line, minus 120 available at FanDuel and MGM. That's just a cheap price to fade Trashville. So New Jersey, that's my Sunday best bet.
All right, there you go. El Diablo, New Jersey Devils, minus 120 against the Nashville Predators. Best bet for Alex P. Smith. My best bet for this one, I'm also going to go with a side instead of a total today. Colorado, minus 140 against St. Louis. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced we get Four Nations stand on his head edition of Jordan Binnington tonight. I think it's a tough spot coming off that heroic performance against the United States in the championship game, leading Canada to victory. I think Colorado bounces back offensively. They had over 30 shots despite only the one goal against Nashville. I think they bounced back offensively here tonight in this game. And I like them to win. They've owned St. Louis, especially in this building in St. Louis, the Enterprise Center. I think that's what they're calling it now. Colorado minus 140 against St. Louis for best bet for this Sunday NHL slate. Shout out to everyone in the chat. We appreciate it very much. Hit the like button on the way out. And again, we had a great Saturday. Hopefully we have a great Sunday to follow it up as well. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Sunday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll be back with you tomorrow on Monday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another edition of the Ice Guys.